Ladies and gents, welcome. This is NBA Fantasy Overtime. This is our fourth installment. Once again, I'm a bit late. Thanksgiving holiday, things happen. So, some things to go over here. We'll cover the sleepers like we always do. The guy you didn't want to play last week or these coming weeks with the way he's been going. And my Oy Vey of the week, where I point out either a player who's playing really terribly or a player that's playing really terribly that happens to be on somebody's team in my fantasy league. So anyway, let's get into the video. Alright, now to start things off, we have a couple of players for the Denver Nuggets, crazy enough. They've been having some stat stuffers these past 2 weeks. Nikola Jokic. Yeah, I probably butchered that. Denver power forward. He is currently owned by 12.1% of owners and fantasy players on ESPN.com's fantasy basketball. At San Antonio, he had 23 points, 12 rebounds, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 61% field goal percentage, and 100% free throw percentage. Against Phoenix, he had 6 points, 4 rebounds, an assist, a steal. Shot pretty poorly, 33% field goal percentage, but hit his free throws. Against Golden State, he had 11 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, a block, 42% field goal percentage, and 71% free throw percentage. Now, he is currently in the starting lineup while Nurkic is hurt, which is a pretty big deal. So if you happen to have Nurkic on your team, this is a great guy to pick up to fill in right now. And he's been producing pretty well, and he won't take away from you on most stats. In fact, he'll probably help your free throw percentage. So that's a good thing. Going into our next player, it is Gary Harris of Denver, the shooting guard. He is currently only owned by 11.2% of NBA Fantasy League owners. Specifically ESPN.com once again. At New Orleans, he had 16 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 62% field goal percentage, 75% free throw percentage, and made 3 threes, which is huge. At San Antonio, he had 15 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 60% field goal percentage, 100% free throw percentage, and made a 3-pointer. Which, if you can tell, that's one of the stats that he's actually been contributing a decent amount in. So definitely keep an eye on that. Against Phoenix, at home, he had 20 points, 2 rebounds, shot 61% from the floor, had 100% free throw percentage, and hit a couple threes. Against Golden State, if you notice also, this is actually a decent set of teams he's performing against. Against Golden State, he had 12 points, 3 rebounds, 3 dimes, 1 steal, 45% field goal percentage, only made half his free throws, didn't have too many attempted that game, and hit a 3. He's been averaging close to, actually above 25 minutes a game right now. If he continues to be starting and getting these minutes, you should pick him up in your fantasy leagues. Mostly because he's just going to be getting those touches, especially on nights when Gallinari is not hitting and things like that. Alright, so another guy you need to add in fantasy. CJ Miles of the Indiana Pacers, shooting guard and small forward. He's currently only owned at the time I wrote these up, which I wrote this a little while ago. Sorry. About last week. He was owned by 21.9% of ESPN.com. Against Chicago, or at Chicago, he had 19 points, 2 rebounds, a steal, 50% field goal percentage, 66% free throw percentage, and made 5 threes, which is monstrous. At Philadelphia, he had 20 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 48% field goal percentage, and 100% free throw percentage, and hit 4 threes. And against Milwaukee at home, he had 21 points, 1 rebound, a dime, 3 steals, 43% field goal percentage, 80% free throws, and hit 3 3-pointers. He's hitting enough threes to win most categories for you guys right now. When he's giving you 12 threes in 3 games in a week, that single-handedly will give you an edge over your opponent in these fantasy leagues. So pick this guy up. If he continues to play like this, which, you know, with Paul George being the focal point of that offense right now and performing pretty darn well, has really come back from that injury, you should definitely get this guy. Now, the guy I hope you didn't have to play in your fantasy league this week, Russell Westbrook of Oklahoma City. He is their point guard, obviously. 37 points per game last week, 10 assists per game last week, 6.25 rebounds per game, 3.25 steals per game last week, and hit 2.25 threes last week as well. And his field goal percentage was hovering around 52%, and his free throw percentage hovered around 76%. That was massive. Having to play against him last week was not fun for any of you, and I do apologize if you had to. So, my favorite part of the video, my oy vey of the week. There is a guy in my league who currently owns Jerian Grant. Yeah. It's not a typo. It's Jerian Grant. He's one of New York's point guards. He is currently only getting 13 minutes a game. He is owned by 12.9% of ESPN.com users for fantasy. And he averaged last week 4.6 points per game, 1.3 rebounds, 0.66 assists per game, 18.2% field goal percentage, but managed to get 90% on free throws on a very small number. Yeah. Oy vey. Anyway, this has been NBA Fantasy Overtime. If you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at TheAnalyst32, where I cover all sorts of sports and everything else. And yeah, have a good week. Watch some good NBA games, and hopefully you pick some of these guys up to help your squads.